Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye delivers a speech at the National Assembly. She lays out the government's budget proposal for next year and urges lawmakers to pass economic and welfare-related bills. Consumer sentiment in Korea picked up in October for the fourth straight month, with rosier outlooks for income and spending. Plus, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake in northeastern Afghanistan leaves more than 200 people dead. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 27th of October. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Broome. We're going to start with some economic news. Consumer sentiment in Korea improved for the fourth straight month in October, rebounding from the economic fallout of the recent outbreak of Middle East respiratory syndrome in the nation. The Bank of Korea says its consumer sentiment index came to 105 this month, up 2 points from the previous month. A reading above 100 indicates optimists outnumber pessimists about economic conditions in the coming month. The index has been on a steady rise since it tumbled below the benchmark 100 in June, when fears about the MERS outbreak were at their peak. The latest figures show Koreans had a more positive outlook on income and spending, but they were still relatively gloomy about the future of the local economy. Now, Korea's top three shipbuilders are expected to suffer combined losses of over 10 trillion won. That's roughly $8.8 billion US. The losses came mainly from delays in construction of offshore facilities as well as order cancellations. Now, according to industry sources, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Samsung Heavy Industries and Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering have suffered a combined loss of $7.8 billion since 2010 from facility projects mostly. In the first half of the year alone, the three shipbuilders posted a combined net loss of $3.3 billion. Now, turning back to the National Assembly, where President Park Geun-hye has just given a lengthy speech on the government's budget plan and pending national issues. The speech itself was delayed by around a quarter of an hour due to a protest by the main opposition party against her administration's plan to reintroduce state-authored history textbooks. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
President Park laid out the government's budget plan and policy goals for next year in her speech before the National Assembly on Tuesday. But she also had other objectives in mind, including urging lawmakers to swiftly pass a handful of key bills.
우리 경제의 활력을 불어넣고 청년들에게 일자리를 주기 위한 중요한 경제 활성화 법안들이 수년째 처리되지 못하고 아직까지 국회에 계류되어 있습니다.
One is a bill aimed at improving the service industry, which has been held up at the National Assembly for 3 years. The president said a competitive service industry could create as many as 690,000 jobs. She also emphasized how costly a slow ratification of Korea's free trade agreements could be for exporters.
한중 FTA의 경우 비준이 늦어지면 하루 약 40억 원의 수출 기회를 잃어버리게 됩니다.
She also used the speech to address the controversial issue of state history textbooks. The government wants a single state-authorized history textbook for secondary schools to eliminate what it characterizes as left-leaning content in existing books. President Park addressed the opposition party's concerns on the issue.
일부에서 역사 교과서 국정화로 역사 왜곡이나 미화가 있지 않을까 우려하고 있지만 그런 교과서가 나오는 것은 저부터 절대로 좌시하지 않을 것입니다.
But whether the remarks were enough to win over opposition lawmakers on the controversial issue remains to be seen. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, as is customary, after high-profile speeches like this, Korea's two main rival parties have given their opinion on the president's address. The ruling Saenuri Party, as you would expect, welcomed the speech, vowing to support the president's main agenda, including her 4 major reforms. The Conservative Party also called on opposition parties to stop campaigning against the administration's decision to publish government-issued history textbooks and cooperate with the government to rectify the nation's skewed history education. The main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, slammed the president's address, saying her message failed to provide any hope or vision regarding the history textbook issue. The main opposition party said President Park is dividing the nation over the matter rather than normalizing history education. Now, the South Korean military is seeking to conscript 20,000 more troops by 2017 in an effort to reduce the number of people who are waiting to start their mandatory military service. The Defense Ministry said on this Tuesday that the government and the ruling party have agreed to increase the defense budget by $53 million over the next 2 years to fund this move. The plan has been submitted to Parliament with the goal of having it passed by the end of the year. All able-bodied men in Korea between the ages of 18 to 35 are required to serve in the military for nearly 2 years. The ministry said roughly 30,000 Korean men have to postpone their conscription each year because the number exceeds the military's annual quota of 250,000. More than 260 people have been killed in a powerful earthquake which struck northern parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan on Monday. The shockwaves from the 7.5 magnitude quake were felt as far away as New Delhi. Our Song Jung-in has the latest.
It was the strongest earthquake felt in South Asia in recent decades. Terrified adults and screaming school children poured into the streets when the earthquake struck on Monday afternoon local time. One Kabul resident whose house was severely damaged described the moment the quake struck.
I was sitting at home when the earthquake happened and I came out of the home with children, but one of my grandsons started running. I asked him not to run, he continued, and then the wall collapsed on him and he was wounded.
An Afghan TV presenter who was in the middle of reporting the news was forced to leave his desk as the earthquake shook the building. The magnitude 7.5 quake was centered in northeast Afghanistan near the border with Pakistan. Casualties are expected to rise in the coming days as rescuers, in some cases hampered by mudslides following recent heavy rains in the region, struggle to reach remote areas. Power and communications have gone out in many areas, preventing the authorities from getting a clear picture of the damage. A tragic incident occurred in the Afghan province of Takhar, where at least 12 schoolgirls were killed in rush to escape their collapsing building. Shock waves were felt as far away as northern India and Uzbekistan, but no deaths or damage have been reported there. South Korean embassies in Afghanistan and other affected countries said there were no reports of Korean casualties. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
Now, a U.S. destroyer is nearing islands in the South China Sea and potentially stirring up a conflict with China. The islands were built by China on territory claimed by at least 4 other countries. Connie Kim has this report.
U.S. defense officials have confirmed an American destroyer will pass within 12 nautical miles, or 20 kilometers, of China's man-made islands in the South China Sea. An official speaking on condition of anonymity said the USS Lassen will be in the area for several hours in what appears to be a direct challenge to China's territorial claims in the region. U.S. surveillance planes are expected to accompany the ship that has been conducting regular surveillance missions in the area. 12 nautical miles around a territory is internationally recognized as sovereign waters, but the U.S. does not recognize the man-made islands as China's sovereign territory. Washington says the construction of artificial islands on submerged reefs does not entitle a country to claim a territorial limit. Last year, China began a massive dredging project to turn submerged reefs into islands. Even though Washington does not recognize the islands as Chinese territory, this will be the first time the U.S. has breached the 12-mile nautical limit since China began building up the islands in 2013. The United States says the patrols are within its rights of free navigation and are routine, but Washington's decision is sure to anger Beijing. Last month, China said it would never allow any country to violate its territorial waters and airspace in the Spratlys, a disputed group of more than 750 reefs, islets, atolls, cays, and islands in the South China Sea. Vietnam, Brunei, the Philippines, and Taiwan all have rival claims to that part of the South China Sea. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, if you think of having a bacon sandwich for your lunch, you might want to think again. The World Health Organization has issued a report putting processed meat in the same risk category for causing cancer as smoking. Experts found that eating a 50-gram portion of processed meat, that's less than 2 slices of bacon, increases the risk of bowel cancer by almost 20%. The findings mean the WHO now lists processed meat, which includes things like hot dogs, ham and sausages, as cancer-causing substances, along with alcohol, asbestos, arsenic and cigarettes. Eating too much fresh red meat, things like lamb, beef, pork and hamburgers, is also deemed a health risk. The WHO says red meat is probably a health risk too, based on limited evidence. It causes some cancers such as bowel, pancreatic and prostate cancers. Now, as our Moon Gon-young reported yesterday, the World Economic Forum Summit on the Global Agenda is well underway in Abu Dhabi. The key term this year, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. What exactly is it? Our Kwon Jang-ho explains.
Who of you feels that in the next 10 years, until 2025, we will have the first 3D printed cars in circulation?
That's Klaus Schwab, founder and chairman of the World Economic Forum, addressing the opening plenary of the forum's 8th summit on the global agenda. He's referring to the new technology age, dubbed the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Fourth Industrial Revolution is the buzzword this year at the Summit on Global Agenda. It's new technologies and innovations that will change every aspect of our lives. But what is it exactly?
This is really not a material revolution. It's the first time we're talking about an industrial revolution that's really more about data than a physical entity, where knowledge, literally data, is the new oil.
The new technological innovation is unprecedented in speed. It's a combination of all previous innovations, and its growth rate is exponential, which is why it is all the more important to swiftly come up with the changes.
Maybe there will be fundamental change in the definition of economy. Instead of using GDP, for example, we might use different index like happiness index, sustainability index, etc.
The world's brightest minds here say that the important task now is to ensure that the fast pace of innovation is matched by agility in setting rules, norms and standards for this evolving new world. To quote Klaus Schwab, in the future, it will not be the big fish that eats the small fish, it will be the fast fish that eats the slow fish. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News, Abu Dhabi.
Now to some good news for drivers, particularly those of us who drive in Korea, because a team of Korean researchers are making GPS navigational systems that should hopefully ensure you never get lost or go the wrong way again. Our Sun-ho Lee reports.
Whenever you use a navigation phone app, it tracks your location and the direction you're heading by using a GPS satellite signal. But many times, tall buildings and other obstructions can distort the signal being sent from the satellite, throwing off your exact location. To counter this, a team of Korean experts have developed a way to upgrade the precision of the satellite's navigation signal.
The compensated information that is produced can be transmitted to your car through your DMB. Navigation then receives this information and can relay it back to you so precisely that it can distinguish the car lane you're in.
The technology uses 4 base stations to help correct the distance error of a few meters down to just 10 centimeters. At the same time, drivers receive a smooth satellite navigation signal. There are over 20 million cars registered in Korea that contribute to congested roads, and the number of car accidents is growing. High-precision GPS technology will help you keep track of traffic, maintain a safe distance between cars, and increase the overall efficiency of the roads.
If we develop this technology for businesses and other applications, it could be used for unmanned drones or self-driving cars.
High-precision GPS systems are also expected to be a critical component for unmanned vehicles, a sector that is turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Korea is hoping to enter this market using their newly developed technology. Sono Lee, Arirang News.
Now, the number of foreigners working on construction sites in Korea is on the rise. The Construction Workers Mutual Aid Association says foreigners represented 7.9% of all registered construction workers in Korea as of 2014, up from 5.7% in 2010. Meanwhile, the age of foreign workers is decreasing. The proportion of those in their 20s has risen since 2013 compared to those in their 50s and 60s. The report adds that 340,000 foreign workers had worked on a construction site at least once as of the end of 2014. Now, we had a bout of sudden autumn rain in Korea this morning, and unfortunately it's given way to a layer of yellow dust and cooler temperatures as well. The high in Seoul today will only get up to 16 degrees Celsius. There's going to be similar temperatures as well in Daejeon and Daegu, and strong wind as well. It's going to make it feel even cooler. A cloud of fine dust floated down from Inner Mongolia in the west this morning, and it's expected to reach all the way south down to Jeju Island through tomorrow. The temperature in Seoul on Wednesday is expected to drop to a very chilly 6 degrees Celsius, which will make it the coolest day of the season thus far. And with that weather report, that is all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a great day, and thank you as always for watching. Goodbye.